Welcome to another episode of Bo Knows Business. I'm your girl, Nick. I am the proud founder of the Bo Collective. We have brought together the nation's top 1% Black women-owned firms, and we are sharing our stories, our strategies, hopes, and dreams about entrepreneurship and how blending, your personal life with your work life, how you get it all done every day. These stories have been so inspiring to me, and today is going to be no different. I would like to welcome to the stage Miss LaShelle Franklin.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good, girl. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, I'm going to give you the mic to do your best elevator pitch out the gate. I know that you are the CEO as well as the COO of two amazing firms. So tell us a little bit about them.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to share. I'm very excited to be here and to share about two fabulous organizations, companies that I'm a part of. The first one is Professional Management Consulting Services, which is a federal government contracting company that was started in 2006 by my husband, Dwight, and I, and where we specialize in management, IT, and consulting to the federal, state, and local governments. We are currently doing business headquartered in Washington, D.C., and we have a little over 35 employees and growing. So that's that side. And then we also have a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2014 with the mission of providing scholarships and programming and really just a village type environment around students who are attending undergraduate college at historically Black colleges and universities. And so it's a 501c3 organization. We have a full board of directors and a lot of management staff to help support us to make sure that our HBCU students not only continue their career through or their college career to graduation, but then they're also very successful once they enter the professional world.
I love that. Did you mention their name? I just want to make sure.
Oh, for our nonprofit organization, thank you for mentioning that. It is called the Williams Franklin Foundation, also headquartered in Washington, D.C.
Perfect, perfect. So I have the benefit of not only you being one of my very dear friends, I have the benefit of knowing your personal story. And with every one of our Bo members that have come on, we literally take it all the way back to childhood because we want our audience to know that entrepreneurship and success, everyone starts somewhere, but we don't always get to share those stories, those success stories from the beginning. All right. So can you just take us back to little Shelly and where were you born? Tell us what your home life was like and tell us if looking back, was there anything entrepreneurial about you as a child?
Good questions. So I am the product of a single parent household. My parents divorced when I was very young, and I was raised predominantly by my father, who also was an entrepreneur. We are from Cleveland, Ohio. And for many years, I had the opportunity. He was my first inspiration when I think back as to where my entrepreneurial spirit was really born. It was really born with my father and the ability to see the hard work, the good work ethic, the creativity, the innovation, the perseverance that it took to really be a business person, to have an idea, to have a vision, and then know how to put the steps together to make that happen. As most people know who are entrepreneurs, you know that the road to being an entrepreneur is not always smooth. And so what came with that were a lot of ups and downs that at times created some instability, quite honestly, in my upbringing, as it relates to just the financial instability, and sometimes even with housing insecurity, in order for my dad to stay on his path of entrepreneurship, which
What type of business did your dad have? What was his kind of his passion?
Yeah, so he was an entrepreneur in a few different areas, but the main area was dealing with commodities. He was a commodities broker, and so he did a lot of work internationally, where he actually had opportunities to travel to different parts of the world, particularly in different parts of Africa, where he did a lot of his business. And again, with entrepreneurship, sometimes things go really well, and sometimes it doesn't go as well, but again, it just taught me a lot of great tips and skills about having good character and that perseverance and that determination, which I feel not only applied to me or really sunk into my spirit as a child who was very ambitious all on my own, very scholastic, and had high expectations even for myself beyond what even my parents had for me, to one day grow up, go to college, and then become an attorney. But also through that path, I realized in looking back that, I kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit in myself, because I always was one who had a great idea and then wanted to galvanize others and convince others to come on board with my great idea, come up with a strategy, a plan, execution, and just that thrill that I just innately always had with having a vision and then making it actually come to fruition. And sometimes things that separate an entrepreneur sometimes from others is it's not just having a vision, because I believe most of us are very creative people, but it's having that stick to itiveness that gets really difficult, because sometimes the road is lonely, and it has but then it's also many joyous moments when you see things starting to come together. And so I realized at a young age that that was the life for me. And although I was fortunate enough to become an attorney,
Mhm.
while practicing law, I found myself in a law firm or whatever setting that I was in, always coming up with these different ideas about, oh, well, the practice of law would be great if maybe, the firm just changed and did things this way, or maybe this organization changed and did things that way. And I found myself always seeing these niches that weren't quite fulfilled,
Mhm.
and trying to figure out through the construct that I was in terms of my employment situation, how to bring that to the forefront of the leadership of my organization, and then how to make that happen.
No, I love it. I love it. I was going to say that is why we are friends, and I do think that that is something very unique about entrepreneurship, is that eye for innovation, that eye for just turning that Rubik's cube a little bit differently, that perspective a little bit to the left, and you come up with something that doesn't exist in the market, right?
I agree. I agree. And that's exactly what I felt at many different turns. And also just my passion for certain things. So I attended a school of the performing arts in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was a vocal major music.
I
And
did
a
not
vocal
know
music
that.
major.
What?
Yes, yes. You learn
Oh my
something.
God. Every time I sit down in this seat and do these podcasts, I'm like, what? I love it. I love it. So
Yeah.
what type, like, what was your I'm sorry, this is off of entrepreneur, but what was your like special, like, what are you sing? Are you opera? Are you blues?
So
Girl?
right, so vocal music. I was a vocal music major. I started singing actually when I was around in fourth grade, where I would really started performing. Had a little singing group with some of my friends, and that
Oh,
just kind of
Destiny's
became.
Child, girl.
We were supposed to be the first Destiny Child. I don't know
Oh
what
my
happened.
gracious. Oh, Shelly.
Yes, and so at that, since fourth grade, I was always in some type of organized singing group of sorts, or then it grew to be in the chorus at school. By high school, I put so much, attention and dedication towards developing this craft that I applied to attend to the only performing arts school in Cleveland, and I got in. And I continued that journey of vocal music, where I studied gospel music, classical music, pop music, everything you can think of, I learned, and that was kind of the breeding ground for me just loving music. I also played the flute from elementary school all the way up to high school as well. So just very musically inclined. So I feel like I had two sides of my brain working, but the creative side of me has always, I believe, been the more dominant side of my brain, which is why I think being an entrepreneur is such a natural fit for me, because it allows me to still be very creative in what I do and how I move. And I tend to be the happiest there, where I'm allowed to create, be innovative. And so, and in fact, as a child, I was like, okay, either I'm going to be a professional singer or I'm going to be an attorney. And
Wow. Oh, wow.
yeah,
Love it.
and even all the way up to college, where I went to Howard University for undergrad,
Hey, Chief.
I continued to perform, even at Howard and talent shows, because I was still just so very passionate. And so one of my ideas was to figure out how to infuse music more into the public school education and
Mhm.
just the arts in general. Because growing up in Cleveland, I feel like every weekend there was some type of festival happening where it was always an opportunity for people to gather, and then for people like me, particularly as a young person, to show my talent.
Mhm.
But I feel that through the years, less attention has been given to that. And so then it became like a big thing of mine. Okay, how do I create, more avenues now for there to be more art programs or just ways for children to display their arts? And so through that, and through some of my philanthropic work, I have joined certain boards where that is the focus of their organization. So I'm still able to feed that side of myself, even though I'm not the one on the stage anymore, but to help other students to display their arts in whatever discipline that they have.
That is fantastic. I'm just so grateful for this conversation
Mhm.
to learn. Now I might be hitting you up like forming out our little bow, our little Bowie fans. It's like, well, lead us off, Miss Shelley. So okay, so there's a little thing about a business in here. So we got to hit that. So we now know that you were raised probably, from my vantage point, I'm a huge soul music person. So I know Ohio to be like the stomping ground for legends in soul music. So now it totally makes sense. Then you went to Howard. We know you got a lot of experience there. Tell us about, you going from being an attorney into, opening this business, and tell us about your first business and its success.
Yes. So after I practiced law, and actually my first area of law was family law, which
Mhm.
I was really passionate about. I love family law, still love family law now. But I realized the demands of balancing having my own family with supporting other families professionally. And I wanted to find a way to create a good balance. So my first business was actually, I started into a solo practitioner, where a solo practice, excuse me, where I provided legal services to families who were facing divorce, custody, and alimony issues. And I did that for a few years, until I had the opportunity to then work actually for the DC Council as a legislative counsel for a council member. And then I did both at the same time for a while, but then one took over the other, ran into a little area where it was like, okay, which one is requiring more of my time? And at that time, my position as legislative counsel was pulling a little bit too much where I couldn't manage both. So then I had to let go of my solo practice. And then shortly after that, again, because I do have a family, as I mentioned, I realized that some of my children's friends, and just in general, children didn't really understand the branches of government
Mhm.
and just how
Yeah.
the government works in general. So then I started a business called Lotus Institute of
Yeah.
Law,
Yeah.
where my focus was to help children learn about the law at different stages. So, for instance, If you're in elementary school, then I came up with um, teaching them the story, like common stories that children know, like about Goldilocks or other very popular children's stories, and then turning that into a legal case so that
Mm,
children could understand the different players um,
yeah.
in terms of who's the lawyer, who's the judge, who's a witness, who is the plaintiff, who's the defendant, things like that. And then I escalated that even for middle school students and high school students, where then I developed a scenario or curriculum on issues around your right to privacy with your locker. And
Mm.
to show them again the different branches of
Yes, I love
government.
that. I love that.
Yeah, to show them the different branches of government, who's responsible for making that law. Is it the legislative branch, executive branch, so on and so forth, to help children to make those distinctions and understand how our legal system works, but then how they can play a part in it. Because what I found was there being a disconnect between young people not really understanding civics in terms of how it applies to them. So much that's taught to them seems so, it's like in history, it seems like
It's
it's like in
abstract.
stone ages. And how does that relate to me in my life now? And I felt, well, if we start to teach kids those connections at a younger age,
Favorite.
then they will probably be more engaged
Yeah.
when they become an adult. So that was Lotus Institute of Law. And then I did that practice for a while, but then, I had some hurdles with that, with finding good relationships that were sustainable within the educational system, where I worked with public and private schools with that. And then I moved on from there to my husband and I building professional management consulting services, which we refer to as PMCS. And through that business, we started first with my husband being our first employee of our company. And again, it came out of us realizing in general that a lot of families like us were struggling to strike that balance between their professional life and their home life. So we thought, well, what if we start a business that is pretty much remote, where no one has to come into a brick and mortar to work, but you can still be as productive, find ways to be just as engaging, but allow people a little bit more flexibility so that they can also be as successful at home as they are with work. And so that's where professional management consulting services was born. And since that point, my husband was the first employee, where we had our first federal government, actually DC government contract. And then we grew the company from there to where we have over 30 employees, where there's a mixture of those who in some instances can work from home. They get that good home life balance, work life balance. And then those who actually work on government site. Oh, I can't hear you, Nick. You're on mute.
Um, my little pooch was greeting the mailman. So,
Okay. Mine was in here a little while ago. You made that.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, no. So you guys were really ahead of your time. I know you're hearing this all the time now with us kind of coming on the other side of COVID. You guys were been ready for over a decade.
Yes, yes. We started in 2006, and again it was born out of our personal situation,
Yeah.
and we felt, well, if we're experiencing this, we're professionals. Our goal is to do a good job at work, clearly, but we also want to find ways of doing a great job at home. How do we make that happen? And from there we decided to start this business. So, and it's been doing well. And as you said, it's been more and more of a trend over the years, where other businesses are in fact trying to do the same thing.
So let me ask you a question about building a company where you all are not in the same space. There's big debate, with larger companies. Hey, in order to create that culture, in order to operate more efficiently, you really have to have that face to face. What are like two or three values that you guys have had in your company since its inception, and it's clearly grown, that you have put into place in your company that has been successful in terms of your people?
In terms of our people, well, I think one, believe it or not, people are looking for opportunities like what we're providing. It's just that it's not offered in many spaces.
Hmm.
So believe it or not, it has not been a hard sell for us to find people who want to work in this more remote environment. Clearly, it comes down to personalities. Some personalities are more built for it than others. Some people enjoy being able to get up and leave their home to work in an environment with others. And clearly, there's great synergy that's born from being in an environment like that. In our case, particularly with our management team and internal team, we make a point to have certain touch points. So although we are
Yes.
a remote business, but we make sure that we have like regular status meetings, like 2 or 3 times a week. One
Hmm.
of those are in person. Prior to COVID, one of those meetings would be in person every week. We also make sure that we have other opportunities monthly to have all of our employees actually come together to engage, whether it's for Top Golf or lunch, happy hour. We just have made a point to create those opportunities. So there's still some level of engagement to build that camaraderie. Another thing we've done is, we create opportunities to get to know each other and then celebrate each other.
Hmm.
So not just for birthdays, but for instance, Veterans Day was a prime one that just passed, where we found out who all were veterans, and we made sure that we did like a huge to do about it, a big shout out to really acknowledge and celebrate our employees for the great work that they've done for our country in that case, but then others who are doing great things in their communities as well. And we found that that's really worked well to somewhat replace maybe us not all being able to come into person every day with each other.
Well, that's perfect, and I feel that I'll transition a bit to the collective, because that
Mhm.
is exactly when we're taking, the nation's top performing Black women in business. Um, yes, we want to get together to grow our businesses, and we are finding that opportunities to fellowship, opportunities to connect outside of business really strengthens the organization. So I want to leave where I can't believe our time is almost done. This always happens. But this has been tremendous. So I want to leave. I want you to leave with two things. What you are, as one of the founding Bow members, what were your thoughts about what this could be? You have two beautiful daughters. Whether they are entrepreneurial or not, one big thing that the founders want is to create a legacy of women working together for our future entrepreneurs. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts were about joining the organization and what you're hoping that our legacy will be.
I think that we as women, we naturally are communal and work together anyways. I think that the Bow Collective allows us to work together and bring our resources together just in the world of business, but it's also in sisterhood, which is so important because there are not a lot of women, particularly Black women, in business who have opportunities to come together, commune together, network together, share, of course, some of our great moments and celebrate those, but then also sometimes more of the challenging moments and support each other through those things. And so for me, being a part of an organization like that at the root of it, it's about sisterhood, means a lot to me. And being a single child without any sisters, I'm always looking for opportunities to connect, to support, to share, but also to grow and learn and to stretch and to challenge me to become a better person, which automatically will lead into me being a better businesswoman. And because all the women that have been brought together in this organization all possess those basic skills of innovation, creativity, super smart, I just feel that there are so many opportunities where you have iron sharpening iron. And I think it's a great legacy for other women, particularly Black young women, to see, to aspire towards, and to see that it's attainable and reachable. We're waiting for them. We're waiting for them.
Certainly are. We certainly are. I'm so grateful. And I just want to take a moment of personal privilege to tell our audience that Shelly and I, we are more recent friends, I say within the last 5 years, but she's one of the early people that came together with me. There were other iterations. There were grandmothers of the Bow Collective, a couple of start stops that we tried to do, really to sew into Black women, to mentor Black women, to be a resource. And I just want to say how grateful I am to you that no matter what my quirky idea was, that you always saw what I saw, and you helped me Rubik's cube this, keep twirling it until we came up with this amazing organization together. And so I just want to tell you how grateful I am for your sisterhood, for your support in helping share my vision with me, from before the outset of this organization. I'm very happy to know you. I love you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That means so much to me, and I feel the same way about you. This, you being a part of my life has truly been a jewel, and honestly, an unexpected one. But I so appreciate you. I cherish our friendship. I hope we can continue to make it grow, and I look forward to playing a bigger part in Bow, because I really see the vision. And it didn't take much to convince me, because I'm already that person. It's like, you got a great idea, okay, let's try it.
That's why this interview is so full circle. It's so full
Yeah,
circle.
because
So,
failure is, I'm not defeated by failure. I'm just
yes.
gonna get up and try again. So I
That's
love
gonna be
it.
your quote, girl. That I am not defeated by failure. I love it.
Not at all, not at all. I follow you anywhere, Nick.
Well, then that means beware the bow, girl. Beware the bow. We going. We are going. This is just such great energy, and I hope that we inspire other people to get their friends together and
Mhm.
see their friends differently, doing business together. I hope that that this is like, why didn't we think of this?
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
this
'Cause there's
it is every person that has said yes is like, other groups do this. We just need to do this for ourselves and not take no for an answer. That we are stronger together.
we
These
are.
businesses are going to grow because we are in the same room, just having the conversations. It's going to happen. So,
And it's room for all of us. Most
abs-
importantly, there's room for all of us. And and if not, we'll make room. We'll make room.
absolutely.
Because as you said,
Absolutely.
I envision this not just being in this area. I envision us having chapters all over the world.
Yes.
And I believe in that vision, and I can see it. So I feel if you can see it, then it can actually become true. So I'm here for the long haul.
Thank you, sister. Tell our audience one final thing. How can they stay in contact with you?
Yes, please. You can stay in contact with me through two different avenues, through my company, Professional Management Consulting Services, at L Franklin at pmcsllc.com. Or you can reach me through my nonprofit organization, the Williams Franklin Foundation, at L Franklin at wmsfranklinfoundation.org.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak about my two passions,
Absolutely.
business and family and friendship.
You guys follow her. She's gorgeous. As you can see, her family is gorgeous. Just Black love, Black business, all of that things you and your husband and family embody. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
We'll see you soon. And that concludes another episode of Bo Knows Business. I am so grateful for these women sharing their stories, sharing their ups and downs, and showing you that success is a process. It is not a destination, it's a process. We learn so much through our experiences. Keep following us, keep listening, and keep being inspired and sharing your stories with us as well. Take care. Have a great day.